Yo, Razak the blogger, Razak GH. Charlie also there, my man. Keep working harder, keep pushing your stuff. God bless your works, Charlie. And then my name is Sam Rabi, Mike Bryan.
Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Eugenia's Touch on Razak Ghana TV. I am Eugenia and I'm going to be your host as always. Today we are on campus and we are having an interaction with Ebo Bernasco. I guess all the Amstead students know Ebo Bernasco. And I would like to give credits to my location manager. I don't have a manager, but I'm saying my location manager. Okay, so today we are having our interview at Eden Supermarket, Eden Restaurant, Eden Pub. Okay, so it's just a small name, but it has a lot of things that it does. They have a supermarket, they have a restaurant, and then they have a snacks base. So if you want to come with your girlfriend, your boyfriend to grab something, you can come here. It's just at what's the name of this school? Amstead campus. It's opposite the campus. When you come, you just find the shelf well safe, and you know, yeah, that's the place. You won't get lost at all. I'd like to go on a short commercial break, and when I come back, I'll start with my interview.
I'm a song for Raslene, aka Likey. And then we come for blogger Papa the amount. Razak GH.
So welcome back to Razak Ghana TV. Like I said earlier, we are having an interaction with Peter Henry Ebo Bernasco. Mekra minim so ye bronio say oye dienio say him fa no kofa sa di ni free interview we aso ye be hu ni nyina. Mr. Peter Henry Ebo Bernasco, you are welcome to Razak Ghana.
Thank you very much, Eugenia.
I trust you are doing good this evening.
I am doing great.
I can even see from,
Oh, actually, I've lost weight. Oh, I have lost weight. I've lost it.
Okay, Amsterdam students will judge that. Me, I won't say anything before they say I talk too much.
Oh, okay. so let them be the judges.
Who is Peter Henry Ebo Bernasco?
Peter Henry Ebo Bernasco is a student of Amstead, Akintina Piamenka University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development. I'm a level 300 student, former SRC aspirant, or should I say, I'm still an SRC presidential aspirant because I intend to contest again. I have a passion for so many things. I can't pinpoint one thing, but one thing I love most is the quest for knowledge. So I like to read from diverse areas, and I have a passion for trying to bring people together. I always believe that when you have a problem and you have a group of people, the solution is between the group of people. You just have to bring them together so that each and everyone brings their pieces of knowledge that they have. Put the pieces of knowledge together, get a functional solution to every problem that you're facing. That is something that I believe in.
Wow. This character, what is semi So where did Ebo Bernasco go? Which schools did he attend?
Okay, so I was born in Takrady, Second to be precise. The hospital is in Second, but I born and bred in Takrady. I lived most of my life in Takrady. I started Grant Memorial. That was the crèche or day nursery school that I attended, Grant Memorial. Then I moved on to Bethel Methodist. From primary, that is KG, to primary to JSS. I attended JSS because I'm old like that. Then from JSS, then now JHS, I attended St. John's. It's about the one in Second actually.
Today the interview is not for Amstead students alone. It's for those guys. It's St. John's School. Those
exactly.
People. So you people have to come and watch this interview as well.
Exactly. So St. John's, and that was the start of who I am today. Yeah. So St. John's Boys School. Before St. John's, I was very, very, should I say, timid, because I grew up in a very strict home. Like I was raised by my grandfather, although I was raised by an external family, my mother's family actually. So I had my grandfather at home, I had my uncles at home. Though I had my grandmother and my mother and my aunties, the men were always making sure that you did everything right. So I grew up in you close from school, straight back home. If you are playing, you play around the house, So pretty as a drum boy kakra, you don't know things. Exactly. But going to St. John's was a turnaround. Truth be told, I actually wanted to attend GSTS, but exactly. But since my family is Catholic, staunch Catholic, my family was like, no way. St. John's, Augustine's, or nowhere else. So eventually I had to go to St. John's. And that was the start of a lot of things. You interact, you go outside the school, meet people from other backgrounds, other schools. And so that is where I began to develop as an individual. Yeah. So from St. John's, I went to St. Joseph's College of Education, formerly St. Joseph's Training College. So that was from 2007 to 2010. I trained as a teacher, and it also helped me a lot. In life, one thing that helps individuals is that you have to taste different socializations, different backgrounds, and the culmination of that will be able to build you to be a very driven person. That is only if you want to be driven. So 2010 I completed, and as a teacher I was posted to Shama in the Western region. So I taught in Shama for 6 years. First I taught in the primary school, and after 6 years I moved to Intraban, those from Western North. So yes, and I'm hoping those who don't know will go and check out those places. They're very nice places. And so being a teacher, let me start from Shama. The 6 years that I spent in Shama was an eye-opener. It makes you realize that life is not all about one individual. It's not all about one perspective. It opens your eyes. How do you deal with different people? What you know is not what somebody knows, or what you believe in is not what somebody believes in. What somebody knows is not what you know. So a constant interaction with people from diverse backgrounds, as I've said ad nauseum in this interview, builds you up. It makes you a better person. So those 6 years plus 2 years from Intraban are things that I will never ever trade anywhere. So at Intraban, whilst I was teaching at Intraban, I had the opportunity to attend a course outside of Ghana, India to be precise, in New Delhi, and this was also an eye-opener. So for somebody who always thirsts for knowledge, and of course knowledge can only be wisdom if it's applied. So because of my thirst for knowledge, I applied for a course, and thankfully I was picked. I got the necessary permission from Ghana Education Service to be able to attend that course, and it was for 4.5 months. And this was an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener where you have people from Iraq, people from the Arab Emirates, people from Afghanistan, people from Cuba, so many nationals. And here's the thing, when you are here in Ghana, Africa, and you hear Afghanistan, you only know Afghanistan because of the war that happened in the US. You know that, okay, now there's the Taliban in there. when you hear people from Iraq, you think, okay, now it's a place where there's bombardments all the time. But when you meet with these people, have a conversation with them, you realize that this earth is full of so many wonderful people. And I've been able to, I cherish that because I've been able to get brothers and sisters from all over the world. Yes, and that we communicate all the time. And these are things that I really cherish. So after that, came back, taught for a year, and I applied for then University of Education in Winneba. I chose Kumasi campus because I wanted to do IT proper, not a B.Ed, but a BSc. And I love Kumasi because I used to pass through Kumasi before I went to Bichim. That is where I attended college. And 2 years or 3 years, 2.5 years down the line, here I am.
Okay, so passing through all those channels, JSS, SHS, SSS, did you hold any position?
Oh, yes. So here's the thing. I was always the scared type initially. So I told you that in St. John's, that is when I learned to develop. Back then, I was a member of the entertainment committee. I was secretary to GUNSA, Ghana United Nations Student Association. I was part of Wildlife Society. I think I was the secretary back then. So I was always the Fiero to go for the frontliner position, because of elections initially. Yeah. So I remember back in training college, my intention was to contest for SRC president. And that intention was built by a friend who was like, okay, I've listened to you. You're always trying to project other people because you're afraid. So this time, push. But in life, sometimes things don't work out the way you want it. Eventually, I couldn't contest because of one or two reasons. But I did what I did. I paid my dues. One thing about me is that the fact that you are not the one holding the position does not mean you are a persona non grata. It doesn't mean you should be redundant. You have to be productive. And so I've always paid my dues. I've always been at the beck and call of the leadership whenever they need me. I remember at the time Martin Ahinkan rather became a very good friend of mine because whenever he was supposed to take assignments, he would just call, we'll travel to Agogo, we'll travel to all the way Obuasi because of what I wanted to serve. So coming back to the teaching profession, it was then that I decided to, all right, you've taken these small positions, be more productive, be more active. So as a teacher, I would take on so many responsibilities. I never did science as an elective back in SHS or in training college, but I became a science coordinator for a cluster of schools. I became an IT coordinator for a cluster of schools. And when I went to Delhi, I became the unofficial, when I say unofficial, because they didn't give me an appointment letter, but I was the liaison for the Ghanaian students over there, the Ghanaian students who attended the iTech program that I did, and the Ghana High Commission. So in everything, I was the one. And sometimes it was necessary because when you go out to different places, because of the difference in culture, sometimes you need, people get agitated a lot, people find it difficult to fly around, so we needed that guidance from the High Commission, the Ghana High Commission. And Mr. Agbanyaga, I think he was one of the commissioners people at the time, was a very, very, this was in the, I think, under John Mahama's, ex-President John Mahama's regime. So ideally, the commissioner there was an NDC person. But I don't know Mr. Agbanyaga if he's just still there as a civil servant, but maybe I'll have to go check that out. He was very productive with us and it helped. Sometimes the Indian hosts have a different ideology, have a different perception of how we have to live. We as Ghanaians have a different ideology of how we. So sometimes that negotiation skill or that passion for negotiation built up from there. And so that is leadership. As far as leadership can go, that is where I developed as a person.
So were there challenges you faced?
Oh, I faced so many challenges in life. I mean,
not in life, but in all those responsibilities you took on yourself, being a secretary, being the
So one thing is that in life, so think of yourself as wood. Okay, so when you're cut from the forest, when you are brought and when they cut you up, they have to use the sandpaper on you. You get it? You've seen rough wood. Before, rough wood can be used for furniture and needs to be polished. So a challenge to an individual or advertisement or adverse situations to an individual is just like sandpaper. It's polishing you. It's making you a better person. The mistakes you make on how to solve challenges, the failures, it makes you a better person. So I usually don't document my challenges. I just see them as failure, triumph. Thanks to the challenge, I don't document them. Of course, you remember a few of them, how people react. We don't all have the same ideology. We don't all have the same passion, the same beliefs. And therefore, merging people together or working for people can be very, very difficult. But in the end, the collective interest of the group is what you are looking for. So it becomes very difficult at times.
So I would ask, there are universities, there are, let me say, many universities.
Exactly.
So why Amsterdam?
So UEW at the time, and I'm so proud that we are the UEW. So first off, as a teacher, when you are taking study leave, you need, even though you can go to other institutions and still be paid, you need a program that would be able to build you up for the classroom and build you up for the corporate world or any other opportunity. And at the time, I don't know of other universities. At the time, one thing I love is being in the classroom because you inspire young ones, you inspire the younger generation. But I would also like to taste the corporate world as well. So I felt, okay, when I was told about the program, the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology Education, it gives you the background in information technology and still builds you up or upgrades you for the classroom work. So that is why eventually I chose this one. I chose this school. It was the only school that was offering such a wonderful program.
So how has the journey been, from level 100 to 300 now?
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Stressful but wonderful. When you come to level 100, you're a greenhorn. You're blown by the wind. It throws you left, right, center. And so when I came to level 100, I was fortunate that I met, I think the first person that I met is the former NUX president, Mr. Justice Alexander. We became friends, and after finding out that he was interested in aspiring for a position, it was then that I developed that thirst. My initial goal was to listen, come, do your degree, go out, upgrade. But when you enter a society and you become friends with people who always want to see change in the society and want to contribute to their quota, you become infected. It's like a good infection. And so through Honorable Justice Alexander, I met so many people. And I think the second person was also aspiring was Honorable Roxanne Eastwood, Roxanne Tovey. think he also came to my room. And so when you see people having a passion for serving their communities, you go like, okay, now what is happening here? You just want to find out more. And that is how I got to learn. You go for the CC meetings, you go for the LA meetings, you go for the student parliament. Unfortunately, I didn't join student parliament until very late. You go for, you learn. It's a system. It's a system. So you try to immerse yourself in the system. And before you can contribute to that system, you have to be part of that system. You have to find the problems, the loopholes. It is then that you understand the system very well. Then you can generate ideas. And don't forget, if it's in your head, it's ideas. Forgive me for digressing a little bit, but if it's in your head, they are just ideas. For ideas to manifest, you need action and you need a collective group of individuals. And that is where, this development on campus began, and it's still ongoing.
I asked of the journey from level 100 to 300, and I wonder something like, aside me coming here with the serious aim, I also wanted a wife or a girlfriend, or I had this girl that was crushing on something. It's like
I wish. No, you don't come to university looking for those things. But those things, eventually they find you. Exactly.
And you being a man, I know I'm in the school and I know that there are a lot of beautiful girls with beautiful characters.
Exactly. There are very beautiful women in Amstead. Very, very beautiful women. And I love Amstead women. I'm not saying I love Amstead women in a bad way, of course. Our society, we have a tendency to misconstrue a lot of things. But if you look at Amstead women, they are very conservative. Generally, Amstead women have and no disrespect to other university women, no disrespect at all. But they have a conscious remembrance for their cultural background, and they still try to be modern, so they are contemporary. You get it, they are contemporary. So if you look at Amstead women, and of course they have a lot of teachers in there, so the effect rubs on them. They are very contemporary, and I love contemporary because I'm an old school guy. I love my traditional background. So for people to maintain a hold on their tradition and yet still be modern, I really adore that.
So from level 100 to level 10, no crashes, no bounces, no nothing.
Not that okay, so here's the thing. I am a very private person. Very, very private.
Just something small, my
like,
and then those who are crashing will
those who are
crashing
on what?
Crashing on you.
On me? Yeah. I wish. I wish.
People do crash on you.
Who me?
Yeah.
I've not been that lucky.
It's just that, see, girls are somehow, or let me say, in Africa,
okay.
It's not common for a lady to come and say, I have a crush on you. You want to meet your
I wish. Oh, well, maybe that's your belief, but nah. I wish, nobody has crushed on me yet. At least not that I know. I'll go and. Well, then I go and pray. I go and pray with the person. I'll go and pray for more crushes this time. But I wish. Yeah.
But you have saying something before I interrupt.
Oh, let's carry on.
Ebo Bernasco, someone can't you. He doesn't want us to know the fun part. He wants us.
I'm a very fun-loving person. I'm a very fun-loving person. I love to dance. I was a dancer back in SHA. To those who know me very well.
Can you give us some?
No, it's all gone now. It's all gone now. It's left my system. Even back in training college, I used to dance. I loved to dance. I love music. hip hop, like I'm a hip hop guy through and through. It's rather unfortunate that now hip hop has evolved to something, forgive me, but trashy. Yeah, not Ghanaian hip hop, but like external.
Okay, let me say that's the word for us.
Exactly. It's now hip hop has now turned into a denigration of women. Excuse me to say, using very indecent language for women, the B word and the H word. You get it, but I grew up listening to Nas. I grew up listening to Rascals. I grew up listening to what's his name again? Immortal Technique, and a host of other rappers who taught me. I mean, hip hop was my first education. Believe it or not, I was not a classroom person. Class, forget St. John's. I can count. Oh yeah, I mean St. John's there. Forget like also. Of course, sometimes you have to put it out there. I was the stubborn kind of guy. We were breaking bounds, and I became national best farmer on campus. Because you're always in trouble. So, hip hop gave me my first education of the world. It tells you about the lives and struggle of certain people out there. So it was helpful. Hip hop was my thing. I love the R&B. I love high life. You listen to, and the reason I love high life is that way back high life was you got the actual instrument. I don't know how to sing. I don't know how to play instruments, but I love music. So you get the real instrument rather than these electronic Fruity Loops things that they put online. But I'm more of an instrument listener. I love instruments, and so yes, that's the fun part of me. Boring for some, that's the fun part of me.
Well, if you just joined us, this is Genius Touch on Razak Ghana TV, and then we are having an interaction with Henry Peter Ebo Bernasco. Nidine Nkwadi, me say, Bana Wood, yeska, cause Edina Emodupa. And then we are in this beautiful place. As you can see, everywhere is nice. Thanks to Eden Snack and Eden Restaurant. They don't have just a restaurant and a snack. They also have a supermarket as well. So if you want a place for your parties, if you want to come here with your girlfriend, I'm really interested in that one. With your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you can come here, enjoy yourself. See, the chairs are nice and everything. I'm loving this place. I think I'll sleep here today. Okay, so Mr. Peter Henry Ebo Bernasco. When you came from level 100, okay, let me say level 100 and 200, were you thinking of going for any position?
I'm truly told that I developed that aspiration when I entered level 200. I think late level 100 all the way to 200. And because of my relationship then, or friendship then with Honorable Justice, former NUCS President, the intention was to contest for the NUCS presidency, or maybe NUCS secretary. Or my goal has never been to be the main man. How do I contribute? But later, after thorough discussions, after learning the system, I realized that, okay, now if you're the NUCS president or the NUCS secretary, and you don't get a president who shares your aspirations, who shares your drive, who shares your intentions, you can be stuck. You can end your administration not doing anything. There will be a lot of conflict. Now, if you follow Amsterdam politics very well, you realize that over the years, there have been internal rifts, internal conflicts between NUCS and SRC. And it's because possibly these presidents, NUCS presidents, SRC presidents, do not share the same ambition or the same goal or the same drive. And so when these conflicts erupt, sometimes it leaves NUCS or SRC, crippled. Yes, they may do the project, but they will not leave the solid impact on students. And so I felt, okay, you know what? If I contest for the SRC presidency, knowing the kind of person that I am, knowing the kind of person that or the kind of people that I love to work with, God willing, should I win the SRC presidency, whoever wins the next presidency, of course, don't forget that when it comes to finances, it's SRC that gives Nooks their quota. So whoever is Nooks president, you'll be able to rope him in, sit down with him, have the talk. Let's find out how we can manage finances, how we can work effectively for the student base. But if you are Nooks president, as I said earlier, your quota is being controlled by somebody else. And one thing that I don't love, or I don't do, is take up something where I know I'll be a failure. I don't do that. If I take up something, it has to be a success, come what may.
So what gave you the motivation? You can set your mind on something, but the motivations or your surroundings will just...
The motivation is that you get people who have been there, who started with nothing, but they were able to do something for their community. I mentioned Honorable Justice Alexander. Many people would disagree with me. And my friend, my very good friend, Ifa Tebi F. The F is always silent. If you know him on campus, he's somebody that I started with from level 100. He's been a brother. We've been able to solve so many problems that we don't toot our horns about. And he's now the next president. These guys inspire me. I saw Honorable Roxanne Itovi. I saw Honorable the former president, SRC president, His Excellency Martin Samuel Clinton. I use this word, sic parvis magna. It's Latin for from small beginnings. These people only had the belief, the idea that they want to change their communities, and they went through the arduous processes of doing it. So what stops me from doing the same thing? So these are the people that inspired me. Of course, there are so many people that I have not mentioned their names, and I cannot mention their names because they are, a whole bunch. And so these are the people who inspired me.
We saw you in last semester's elections, and then you went for the SRC presidency. So is it clear that there were so many positions but why did you go for the SRC?
Yeah, so I believe I said it earlier about, the SRC president is the apex. Not in terms of you want to show off that I'm the president, but if you want to see a system work. So, there's a saying that if you want to kill a snake, you cut off its head, right? So which means that the head is very important. So the head is the functional, it gives all the other parts of a body, not necessarily the human body or the snake's body, but it gives it functions or makes it work. So I felt, okay, as the SRC president, now Amstead SRC or Amstead student base is not dysfunctional. No, it's not dysfunctional. It has its problems, but it's not dysfunctional. So how do you solve those problems? You get to a point where you are the head, and you'll be able to, help the systems work. The SRC secretary position system, the SRC financial secretary position system, the NUCS system, amalgamated system. These systems culminate to bring you what SRC is. So you break them in bits, activities, and you can only do that as the head of the SRC, which is the SRC president. So take, for instance, I had gone for the SRC secretary position. No disrespect to those who go, but I feel that, okay, now when I see a problem wrong, or when I see something wrong in the NUCS position or the NUCS system, myself as an SRC secretary can only suggest. I cannot leave my mandate. And go help them solve the problem. I can only suggest. And sometimes making suggestions, one thing is people might want to take it, but how do they implement the suggestion? But as the president, you are effectively part of every system. You are part of every system, so you join in. Hey, Nooks, you have this problem. you are part of the fixing problem. That is why I went for the presidency, because I wanted to see the systems work.
And then before the SRC elections, there were rumors that you woke up one morning and then you saw some, should I say, ritual stuff in front of your home.
Okay, so many things happened during the campaign, prior to election day, after election day, on election day, that I would love to leave in the past. You know, some things are best not said or mentioned at all. So I can't give credence to things that were said, be it true or untrue. I feel that sometimes in the world of politics, or for the community to move on, we have to move on from past events.
I just want to know whether it's
true. I don't get it. You know, truth is. What do you call rituals?
Okay, you see, if I am to wake up one morning and see a fowl and then read something.
Maybe somebody wanted to go steal a chicken and left it there. So, Eugenia, maybe I'm being funny about it because after the election, I had to go through, or myself and my team, we had to go through more of a revival process. Because when you lose an election, you've let go of so many things. You've let go of so many things, your academics, your social life. Trust me, I've lost a lot of friendships because I had to concentrate on the entire community. Interpersonal relationships went dead. And so when you lose the election, it becomes a bit of a blow that, okay, you left all these things. Finances. I didn't bring in finances because, you know, student leadership, unfortunately, has to go through a political process before we can choose our leaders. And at the moment, we don't have an alternative. But you have to go through a political process. And unfortunately, the word politics has become a very dreaded word. It's become some sort of a bad word. So when somebody says, so this guy is a politician, you say, oh, and they're on your papa. You get it? So it came with politics, the spending of money, because people feel that before you get there, you have to, the insults, the attacks, all these people went through, but it's happened. And I said, I'm not going to give credence to some things, whether true or untrue. They are past and gone. So,
but then do you know the person who did it?
Who did what?
The person who brought those things in front of
I said I'm not going to give credence. I said no.
You're not being fair to me.
Okay.
You're not being fair.
Oh, how am I not being fair to you?
Because I asked the question and you didn't answer.
I've answered you.
No, you didn't answer.
Okay, so let's do hypotheticals. You're an English student, right? You're a student of English. I stand corrected. All right, so let's do hypotheticals. Let's say it was true. Thankfully, I'm alive and well, and I'm kicking by the grace of the Almighty God.
I want to call it ritual things now. I would say some things in front. Somebody mistakenly dropped in front of you.
So, as I said, so many things happened during the campaign.
Somebody mistakenly dropped it in there. Did you find out the person who did it? Or did you get to know the person?
First off, so many things happened during the campaign. You wake up, see so many things. Okay.
It was like that wasn't the first thing you saw. Or it wasn't the only.
Actually, I have everything out of my mind, so I don't know exactly specifically what.
You also heard you collapsed. How true is that?
I collapsed when. The word collapse is kind of.
Or you passed out, or you blacked out, or if I say fainted, that one is quite.
Okay, so during the campaign, so that I will give credence to because I passed out because unfortunately during the campaign I had malaria that I didn't know of. And, it had festered. The parasites had festered. So, unfortunately, a day before the campaign, you have to go around, talk to a lot of people, speak, try and I forgot to eat on that day because, exactly, you wake up and, sometimes you get calls as early as 4 a.m. Sometimes you get calls as early, when some people want to see you succeed, they put their comfort aside. And so sometimes you get calls early at 4 a.m. Hey, we have a class here. Come talk to the people. They say they haven't seen you. And Amstead may look very small, but the community in here is huge. And when you want to contest for SRC presidency, you have to be able to touch base with almost every community if you can. And so a day before the campaign, I believe that the malaria and the stress took its toll. And so, yes, I passed out. Went to the clinic. Thankfully, they pumped some drugs into my system, and the next day I was back on my feet to contest the election.
So how did you feel when the results came out and should I say you lost?
Okay. It's do I have a word for it? One thing about election is election can be very unpredictable. 1 minute you are in runoff position, the next minute you are out of the runoff race. It makes you question yourself. So initially, the first 2 hours, it was a moment of confusion. Okay, what is happening? What is wrong? 1 minute I'm headed for runoff, the next minute I'm not. And then later I'm that person who kind of, when I'm hit with something, I don't sit around and mope. Woe is me. No, I just get back up on the horse. Let's get back on track. And so 2 hours after the election, I was back up and I had to, now it was the job or my job to get my people, hey, it's life, it's election. And thankfully I had support systems. Because you have people who are so dear to you that everybody wants to be there for you. So many people went out of their way. I had level 400 brothers and sisters leaving their stations to come check on me, bro, how are you doing? And so I was up on my feet before you could say Jack.
Do you have a problem with
Ceapot? I don't, Honorable Prince Tutu. I don't. I don't have a problem with Ceapot. I don't.
You see, after you lost the election, you came to tell your supporters to give their votes to Omega.
Really?
Our president now.
Oh, really?
Okay, if you don't have a problem with Ceapot, you wouldn't go and say they should vote for him. And then, or maybe were you expecting that? No, let me put it this way. Did Omega assure you that when to give you a position or something?
First off, I'm really grateful for this question. During elections or after elections, or let's say in the political process, one thing that drives the system is rumors. One thing that drives the system is sometimes there are lots of lies in there. Now, if anybody followed the campaign diligently, you realize that every time I needed to communicate, I did so using a communique on a letterhead. So let me brag, we were the first ever people to do it, by the way. Did we see any communique saying that we should follow Honorable Richard Opoku? None whatsoever. One thing you have to realize is this. My team, they're a team of people. They have their prejudices and biases. After we lost the elections, I was no longer a candidate. And therefore, as the election process had to go on, my people had to make a decision. Some were for Honorable Prince Tutu, and some were for His Excellency Richard Opoku, and those people went their separate ways. So it's shocking because I had people who were in my team who directly campaigned for Prince Osei Tutu, and I have people in my team who campaigned for His Excellency Richard Opoku, aka Omega. So it's shocking for people to say that, hey, you gave your support to Honorable Richard Opoku. Show me a communique, or show me a video, or show me an audio, or even show me anything. Sometimes people say things just to push on conspiracy theories and all that, but these are all sentiments and lies that don't hold water.
So should we expect you back?
Yes, expect me back. Well, sorry for laughing so loud, but the funny thing was when we lost, and on my way on campus, when we lost, I saw Opoku. Opoku, they came out with posters, funeral posters, and mine was Sikanashi.
They came to us for jingles.
I was like, Sikanashi. I was like, oh, Sikane Diashi. Because, of course, in elections, you lose a lot of money because you have to touch base with a lot of people. And traditionally, when you go to 7 prayers, I'm saying, we'll call Ahimfia and Penny 4, I say, we'll call Ahimfia, on Sapan. You are going to call on somebody for that person to let go of his time or to let go of whatever activities that he's performing and come and help you out, and therefore you have to compensate the person. You get my point. And so in trying to reach a lot of people, the people who work for you or who work for you have to drink water, some have to eat, so it makes you put in funds and you lose a lot of money, but it's part of the system. And so by the grace of God, we are still alive, and money is not everything, by the way. It's not everything. So yeah, we are coming back.
So what should we expect this time?
Expect a more structured Bernasco campaign, and if I may, let me chip in this. I don't know if you are going to ask me, but let me just put this in. It's rather unfortunate that the sentiment shared by some people is that, okay, so Ebo is going on to level 400, and in level 400 he will not be on campus, and so why should Ebo come and contest the SRC position?
And that's what they were saying against you.
Exactly. Now they said that Ebo was the one who said it against Ceapot. Now, of course, as I said, these perfidious statements or talks, I never said. Show me a video. Tell me somebody who saw me, until the person is like really wants to be a very good liar. Let that person come forward and say that I said this. I campaigned for, and of course it's open knowledge that I campaigned for Honorable, His Excellency Button Samuel Clinton during his comeback. He was going on level 400, and yet I campaigned for him. So why would I turn around and come and say, hey, somebody is in level 400 or going on to level 400, so why should they contest? Isn't that hypocrisy? Exactly. And so that was something that I never did. That was something that I never used against anybody. I didn't even use it against Honorable Roxin when he was about to contest, because I knew what he can do. And so for people to say that, that I said it, that's of perfidy, that's lies. Now, to the second thing where they say, okay, you're going on 400, why are you contesting? If you know the UEW system, if you know the Amstead system, former UEW, you'd realize that when somebody goes on internship, that person is not necessarily out of this. That person has a lot of time on his hands, provided the person is not out of the city doing his internship. Thankfully, I'm doing my internship, or I'm going to do my internship just behind the school's walls in one of the basic schools around. And you just teach for an hour or two days in a week, week's marks, you have all the time in the world to come back on campus. Honorable Clifford did it. Honorable Clinton did it. I know, and these guys, excuse me to say what you may. They had their issues, they had their faults, but they were very effective. 300, where you have quizzes, where you have assignments, where you have lectures, where you have so many things to do. Vis-a-vis level 400, where you go and teach just 2 hours. And mind you, in first semester level 400, you write no exam, you don't write any exam. When you come back in second semester, you have only 2 or 3 courses to do. Those are done on Thursdays and Fridays. Your project, you can do that at the luxury, like at your own luxury. And when you are going to write an exam, by the time you are going to write an exam, you've already handed over to another administration. So tell me the level 400 person cannot be an SRC president. Tell me where that equation is. It's rather unfortunate that, no disrespect to anybody, I use this a lot because maybe I've said A, but the person might mistake it as might misconstruct it. So no disrespect to anybody. It's only people who don't have anything solid or ideal to tell the student body. So it's like elimination by rough tactics. Let me say this thing. And unfortunately for brothers and sisters, some people get heightened when they don't understand. We are emotional people. A bit TBB now. But level 400 is actually the best time to contest or to be an SRC president.
So any last message or any message to Amsterdam students, and then you would like to have your social media handles as well, your crashes will locate.
All right, so I wish on those precious things. So, last word is, when we were getting the autonomy, we were so fired up. When we were under Winneba, it took so long for things to get done because of the bureaucracy. Has to pass through principal, go through to registrar in Winneba, go through this SRC, have to go through unified SRC president. There were so many things, so progress was very, very slow. But after we got the autonomy, it's like a newborn baby. You first have to learn how to crawl, and then you walk. And so we are in the crawling phase. And I believe that the moment we start to walk, looking at the systems being put in place, and hopefully, should we get a vibrant SRC on the student front, Amsterdam will be one of the most talked about universities, not only in Ghana, but in West Africa, and hopefully the world as a whole. The courses or the programs that are going to be introduced in coming years are not only going to be massive for the development of Ghana, but the development of Africa as a whole, and not only development, but sustenance. So it is my plea that students do not fret, they do not lose hope. I promise you, Amstead, 5-10 years from now, when we step out of the campus and we look back, we will be so proud. Of course, I know most likely, I would get a Winneba degree, bachelor's degree. But I tasted Amstead. I'm part of Amstead. And I'll be so glad to tell my children, hey, this is my old school, this is my alma mater. But it only comes when we pick up the responsibility as students to make the right decisions, to make the right choices, to involve ourselves. Let's not have this apathy towards SRC or management. Let's find ways of working together. Nobody's perfect. Penny say they are all trapped sana. Instead of condemning people, let's criticize people. There's a difference. Criticize, you are making the person better. Condemning, you are telling the person you don't matter. So that's my last word. Let's get involved. It's very, very important. So on Twitter, I am Peter H. Bernasco. So Bernasco is spelled Bernasco, and it's not my nickname. It's my surname actually. I would have loved that I give the history about the Bernasco, but I didn't get the chance. Maybe another time. So Peter H. Bernasco, at Peter H. Bernasco, that's my Twitter handle. At Peter Henry Bernasco, that's my Instagram. At Peter Henry Bernasco, that's my Facebook. Maybe another time. Oh, I know. Another time. A lot of people have my number anyway, so.
Okay. I mean, I'll go around and then ask people. I'll go and ask the ladies if they have your number.
Please do, and I'm sure you didn't get about 10 of them.
Okay, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Eugenia. Thank you, Razachi. I wish you all the best with your channel, and
thank you.
I plead that you continue this good work. Not just myself, but not only aspirants, but go around the campus, just as you've been doing. Continue with the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So we had our interaction with Peter Henry Ebo Bernasco, and this is Eugenia Starch with me, Eugenia, on Razak Ghana TV. Like I said, this beautiful surroundings is called Aiden, and they don't just have a room like this. They have a restaurant, and this is actually the snack spot. They have a pub, and then they have a supermarket. So if you want anything, you can just come to town. Also opposite, should I say, University of Education Winneba, which is now Amstead Akentia Piamenka University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development. Thank you for staying with me, and good evening.
Anonymity Bobo Ayusi. Open blogging. Sir, what can you now see a promo? They come for Razak GH, and as a Razak Ghana, at the amount. Or your best blogger, Safanium, Ultra article, be beyond Obayama. Why you see? What I'm TV news, what I'm showing news, what I'm doing BBR. Razak Ghana, you are the best.